I wanted to give you guys a quick video and just go over really quickly the case studies and what I'm expecting and kind of the format and everything just to answer any questions hopefully this way. Also, I've never tried a video, just wanted to see if this was a good way to kind of relate to you guys what I'm looking for and what I'm expecting from these upcoming case studies. So without further ado, let's talk about this. So as you know, there's going to be two group case studies due throughout from each of you this semester. You've seen the subjects as you've signed up for the case studies. They are, events, earthquakes, volcanoes, mass wasting like landslides, flooding, tornadoes, and hurricanes. So you guys have already signed up for those, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. But then there's going to be a third smaller case study due in lesson 13 or week 13. That's going to be done individually. It won't be a group project. It should be about 1/3 the size compared to the normal case studies. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer to that. So for now, let's not worry about that. Let's just focus on these case studies now. Also note, as noted down here, the presentations are due on Thursdays. And the reason for that is we want to give the class time to read the case studies, kind of digest them, and prepare for them because the case studies are going to be on the exams. So make sure you put together good presentations for your classmates so that they can study the material more effectively and efficiently to be prepared for the exams. So I kind of want to go over the case study group presentation real quick. Instructions, kind of the format, and what I'm going to be looking for. First off, it needs to be like a PowerPoint or a Google Slides presentation that's uploaded onto iLearn. Okay, it should teach about the event that you guys are looking at. You need to use figures, images, maps, graphs, things like that on every screen of your PowerPoint because visuals make it easier to learn. It helps people relate and understand better, especially with regards to geology and geosciences. I found that when you're talking about earthquakes, it's really a lot easier to understand what happened when you can see images of it, pictures of, hey, this is what Kobe, Japan looked like before and after the earthquake. And it kind of helps people understand and put things in perspective. Okay, make sure you do that. Use brief text to explain the figures. They say on here bullet points may be used where appropriate. I typically put almost all of my presentation in bullet points. The reason for that is it helps limit the amount of text I put on each slide. You can put too much text on a slide and it'll become tedious and monotonous for the reader and it'll be less efficient and effective. So it's okay if you use bullet points to describe everything and then use concise statements to explain the idea of the slides. Okay, so make sure it's concise, not too much text. Don't be too concise. You don't want like 3 words. A sentence or 2 for each bullet would be wonderful. Okay, let's see. You can read through the rest. No animations or exploding texts, things like that. That's just distracting. We're trying to look for a little more professional kind of presentation. The kind of outline that I'm looking for is an introduction, background, going over the science, looking at the human toll, an eyewitness account, a conclusion, and then some reference slides. So I want to talk a little bit about each one. Kind of your first slide, you'll have a title introduction slide with the event, then your group name, and then maybe a brief introduction or intro slide to just kind of say what it is. Kobe, Japan earthquake, and then the date that it happened. Then I want to see a background slide. Here you're going to show a map showing where it happened. Right here you can see the Google Earth map and how you can upload that or save the image and then upload it. The date the event occurred, the magnitude of the event, and then the geographic extent of the damage. Excuse me. So this is a really important background. Make sure you have it. It's just kind of a good overview to prepare everybody for what actually, kind of the science and everything. The science, you don't necessarily have to have just one slide of science. It's okay if you have 2 slides, 3 slides explaining the science because there can be a lot to talk about here. But it is important that you get this, especially since this is a foundations level science class. So, a couple of things here. Talk about the measurements of the disaster. Talk about the physical features of the earth involved in producing the disaster. So an example of that would be talking about if it was along a convergent plate boundary that an earthquake happened, you need to mention that and talk about that, if that makes sense. Name the processes that produce the phenomenon using the terminology you learn in this class. I want to see you guys use the vernacular. You're going to be going through it through the readings. I want to see you guys using it appropriately and correctly within the presentations, okay? So make sure you do that, and make sure you talk about what happened and how it happened, if that makes sense. You also need to talk about the effects of the natural disaster and some other things as listed here. Okay, I'll let you go through this, but those are kind of the big points I want to hit. Then I also want you to talk about the human toll. That's really important. I want you to talk about what happened, not just to the science, but to the individuals and to the economies. Here, talk about how it affected the economy, the impact that it had. How much did the repairs, rebuilding from the disaster cost? What were the number of buildings or acres of crops that were destroyed? What was the impact on businesses and commerce? Those types of things. Also talk about the casualties. We need to remember that while the science is cool, people were affected by these disasters, and we need to understand how it affected them. And why that's so important is because as you're going to be going through life, you're going to be looking to move to new areas, and by understanding the effect these disasters can have on human life, it can help you develop your own version of acceptable risk and help you determine where you feel comfortable living. Then also relate any historical impacts and anything of that nature. So how did it change the way things work in the world or the way we view things in the world, things like that. Eyewitness account. You need to have a slide or two with an eyewitness account. This one can just be big, long quotations, paragraphs. That's fine because you're actually quoting an eyewitness account, okay? You'll be directed to where you can find those, particularly on each individual case studies page on iLearn. And then a conclusion slide to kind of wrap everything up quickly, all right? And then after your conclusion slide, you're not quite done yet. You need to have a slide with all your references. And a couple of things here. First, copy and paste from any website, journal, book, or other source is never acceptable. You can do that on the eyewitness account where you're quoting an eyewitness account, but you need to describe who's talking, how they were involved with the disaster and things of that nature. That's really important, okay? But you can't quote that. But otherwise, I don't want to see in the science section, big long quotes from the United States Geological Survey explaining how this earthquake happened or this volcanic eruption occurred, okay? I don't want to see that. That's not acceptable. Remember that link or that infographic I posted last week from the Harry Potter one about plagiarism. Try to follow those guidelines, okay? And that'll help you produce good quality slides with great information and avoid the pitfalls of plagiarism and things of that nature, okay? Make sure also that all your information on every slide has a source that it's coming from and that source is on your references slide. And if you could put those sources in a formatting style like MLA or something like that, that would be fantastic, okay? The other thing with sources is you should also cite where you get each image. So on the page, maybe right under the image or figure, just post a quick link, the URL or whatever from the page you got it, and then on your citations page, cite the image again. Okay. Okay. Project communication is key with these. You're in groups of 3, maybe 4, sometimes 2, or 1. But if you're in a group of 1, I'll move you to a group of 2. But make sure you're reaching out to your group mates early on, before the case study week starts. Why do I say this? It'll make your life so much easier if you have time to prepare. And don't procrastinate this project. These are, good-sized presentations. I'm expecting a lot from you guys. So make sure you're in contact early with your group members. And if you have a hard time getting in hold of your group members, reach out to me, let me know, and I'll help you get in contact with them. That being said, if you can never get in contact with a group member and they do not participate in the project, I still expect a full completed project from you, not missing anything. And I know that may seem may seem unfair to you, especially since this is a group project and you say, well, I did my part. And I understand that. But the reason I expect a full presentation is as you move into the workforce and into, the real world, where you have projects and presentations and different things that you'll be doing with people, you'll be expected to have a completed, polished presentation every time, regardless of, your coworkers' participation. And I know you guys are more than capable of doing this. Each of you is a phenomenal student, and I know each of you is capable of doing this. So I'm going to expect that from you guys. Also, let me know if your group members aren't participating. I still expect a full project, but I will take that into account with grades. And, if someone didn't do anything on the project, they will not receive the same grade as the individual who did the whole project. Okay? Then make sure to go over the rubric. This is the rubric here, just kind of going over that. So a few quick notes and hints to help you guys. First off, each case study has a page that you'll be going to on iLearn. This is the New Madrid, Missouri earthquake from 1811 to 1812. Okay, so on here you'll find a link to the general requirements page, which is what we just were looking at, but then also case-specific requirements. There are going to be specific questions associated with each presentation that need to be addressed, or case studies that need to be addressed in the presentation. Make sure that you go over these because I will be looking to see that these are answered. You'll also be given research documents that you can go to. They'll have links to where you can find, first-hand accounts, the science, and all these things. So you'll be given everything you need. So to access these, you'll just go to your table of contents, the lesson. So in this case, lesson 4. Click on the case studies tab, and you'll find a list of you should have access to your particular case study. Okay, and you can find all of this here. Another helpful note, make sure you proofread your projects. Take time, each member of the group, after it's done, before you submit it, go through it, make sure the text and formatting is all uniform, make sure the themes, like the background's the same across all the slides, make sure that the font style doesn't change, the font size doesn't change, and make sure it's all kind of in the same voice, meaning I can't pick out when member A is slides end and member B's slides start. Okay, if that makes sense. Make it so that I can't tell who did what slides. Okay? So there's that. And again, I just can't emphasize that enough. Please, 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 please proofread your assignments and your case studies. It'll make your grades so much better, and you guys will have just beautiful, wonderful projects. Another note too with these, it's important that you proofread them to have good information and good voice, because your case studies will be used by your peers to study for the exams. Each case study will be on your exams. So you'll be using each other's slides to study for these. So please make sure that you're proofreading them for that, and also make sure you get them in on time, which will be Thursday nights, so that your group members have time to study. Okay? So with that, also feel free to send me, copies of your slides beforehand if you would like me to proofread some sections of it. I'd love to give you feedback to help you get a better grade. So please don't hesitate. Feel free to ask questions. I'm here to help. Okay, you guys are going to do great. I'm really looking forward to your presentations. I think you guys are going to do fantastic. So here's to a great set of case studies. You guys are going to do a great job. Let me know if you have any questions.